Alright, sorry everybody. There's going to be 3 parts to this video. I apologize. So, what I did, some of my video got cut off. I sauteed my apples in my butter to get some nice color. These are Fuji apples. You can use green apples. Just get a little bit of color on those. And then I seasoned up my Cornish hen leg and thighs that I had from roasting the Cornish hen breast. And these are some sauteed potatoes that I'm cooking in some bacon fat that I browned my bacon. I browned my bacon, took it out. I'm going to brown my potatoes. And then at this time, I'm going to add some sliced shallots and garlic. Now, there isn't a recipe for the potato dish that I'm doing. It's a very just French influenced dish with the bacon and potatoes. I'm going to add some cabbage in a minute. Once these leg and thighs, we brown these on all the sides, both sides. We're going to take those out. We have some really nice fond developing here. I'm going to add my shallots and my leeks. Okay? We're going to add our shallots and leeks. And we're going to sweat those until they're soft. Then we're going to add our brandy. Now, I have a little thyme sprig, rosemary. I have my cabbage here, and I have that nice chicken jello that I'm going to add. For my potatoes, and let that potato absorb all that flavor. And I'm just going to braise that cabbage and potato together in the oven. A little bit of salt and pepper. And we're going to put a lid on that, or you can cover it with some aluminum foil. And we're going to braise that in our oven as we braise this hen. 400 degrees for about maybe 15, 20 minutes for the potatoes. So my leeks are sweating, and then I'm going to add, now I'm not using brandy, I just have some scotch. You can use some white wine instead. If you have brandy, you can use brandy. You can also use like sherry wine would be good in this as well. If you don't have any wine, you don't have to use wine. But if you're going to substitute, I would probably substitute it with like white wine. And then we're going to add our chicken broth and our apple cider. And we're going to add our herbs. Okay. Now, our chicken is going to, our Cornish hen is going to go back in. We're going to braise these for about maybe 10-15 minutes. And then we're going to add our apples to this. Okay? While that's braising, I'll let the potatoes braise. And then I'm going to come back to you and I'll show you how to finish this dish up. Okay? Be back soon. Okay, so I stopped for a little bit. The chicken or the Cornish hen is done braising, right, until tender. We're not looking for a temperature, so you know it should pull off the bone but not fall off the bone. I took my apples out a little bit sooner just because these are Fuji. If they were Granny Smith, they would hold together a little bit better. So you just got to be careful what apple you're using. If this is a little sweet, the sauce, you can add a tiny bit of vinegar, whether it's cider vinegar, just like a half a teaspoon, a little bit of lemon juice, or other vinegar. So what I'm going to do is, and these are the potatoes. So the potatoes and cabbage, I season them with some salt and pepper. Now at the end, I can add my bacon back to it. Stir that around, salt and pepper. If you wanted to put a little parsley in there, you want to stir a little butter in there. I'm just going to leave it just like that, okay? And right over here, I'm sauteing my mushrooms. Okay, just very little oil. You don't need a lot, but you do need a little bit. And don't put too much because then they're going to get greasy until you get some really nice color. Now, I haven't seasoned these yet. I'm going to season them now because they're done. And I don't want to season them too soon because then they're going to pull that moisture out and your mushrooms are not going to brown. Okay? So at that point, we're going to let those sit there. Now we're going to finish our sauce. Now I have my creme fraiche. Now I'm not using creme fraiche here. I know the recipe says creme fraiche. I'm using sour cream. But you do have to be careful with the sour cream because you don't want to boil this. It's going to curdle. And what we want to do is mix the egg yolk. And you don't want to boil this anyway because of the egg yolk. We're going to take some of this sauce. Okay, so I took my chicken and apples out. I'm going to take some of this sauce and we're going to temper this liaison in. Now, another dish that's very popular in this region is something called a blanquette, like a blanquette de veau, where it's like a veal blanquette or a lamb stew, veal stew, white stew. So the meat is simmered in stock until tender, and then you take it out. And that stock has some mirepoix and some herbs and stuff. There's a recipe in your packet. And it's thickened with a beurre meunier. So you're making a supreme sauce. And then you finish it with the liaison. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm finishing this with the liaison. And I'm just going to stir this in. And all I want to do is heat this. Almost like you're making a creme anglaise, right? You just want to heat it until that egg yolk thickens that sauce, and it should just barely like coat the back of a spoon, okay? Make sure you don't have too much liquid. You should only have about a cup of liquid left, all right? Now at that point, we're gonna stir back in our mushrooms, almost all of them. We drop one. And then we're gonna add our apples. And gentle, because if they are soft, they're going to break up a little bit. And then we're going to stir in, and you could see how that's really nicely thickened up with that liaison. Even though I use sour cream, you know, you're not going to find creme fraiche unless you go to like Whole Foods. Mariano's would have it. But you can always, like I said, you can always substitute with sour cream. Now, I did take out the thyme and bay leaf. I took out the thyme and rosemary sprig from my potatoes. And then we're going to plate this. Okay. So we have our potatoes and cabbage. And you know, you could do this with mashed potatoes, with noodles. You can just make a meal right out of that. And again, this is kind of a rustic dish. So we're going to take 2 of our Cornish hen leg and thighs. And anytime you're serving a braise, the sauce just really goes right over it. Okay? So all of this now, the apples and that leek and mushroom, and then some of that really delicious sauce on there. Okay? Poulet, vallee d'Auge, from the Normandy region of France. Okay? Thanks everybody. Have a great night, and I will be back soon.